In a stunning defeat over 10-term incumbent Joe Crowley, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez just made history as a Democratic socialist woman of color running in the 14th District of New York. Ocasio Cortez, whose campaign was 100% volunteer-led and accepted no money from corporate donors, will now be the first woman of color elected to office in New York 14, despite the fact that 70% of the district's population is comprised of people of color. A few hours before the results were announced, Ocasio tweeted, "Almost 2 years ago, I started what was then a completely impossible bid for Congress. Since then, everything has changed. Now, there's only 20 minutes left. And it feels great." Ocasio is the daughter of a Puerto Rican immigrant and a small business owner from the Bronx. Here's what you need to know. 1. Her parents sent her to school 40 minutes away. According to Ocasio Cortez's official site, she learned about income inequality at an early age when her parents sent her to a school 40 minutes away in Yorktown because they couldn't find any decent education systems in her neighborhood. This drive made an impact on Ocasio Cortez as she learned that a 40-minute drive represented a vastly different quality of available schooling, economic opportunity, and health outcomes. 2. Her father passed away suddenly in 2008. Ocasio's father died suddenly in 2008 at 48 years old due to cancer. Her site explains that the Ocasio family was suddenly thrown into a crisis now that they had lost their primary form of income in the middle of a recession. After her father's death, Ocasio worked 2-day jobs, working 18-hour shifts at restaurants to help her mother keep their home. 3. Ocasio only moved home after college because she needed to help keep her family afloat financially. After Ocasio graduated from college in 2011, she moved back to the Bronx to help her mother stay afloat. Her mother, in turn, returned to cleaning houses and also took a job driving a bus. After Ocasio's time working as a waitress to help support her mother, she became an educator at the National Hispanic Institute and began to get her feet wet with campaign organizing while working for Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign. To the Huffington Post, she said, "I see people like me who thought someone like me couldn't be in politics now are saying, oh, wait, I don't need to take money from corporations to run, maybe I'll run too." 4. Her aunt and uncle used to listen to Malcolm X speak. In an interview with Vogue, Ocasio Cortez talked about her experience and relationship to living in New York. Ocasio Cortez talked about her deep family history to the streets of New York, saying, "My aunt and my uncle were just talking last Christmas about how they literally heard Malcolm X evangelizing on street corners." Ocasio Cortez noted this memory as an example of her intergenerational history with the Bronx, then added, "This city is becoming too inaccessible and too unaffordable for normal people to live in anymore." 5. After 3 generations of living in the Bronx, her mother can't afford to live there anymore. Ocasio Cortez's mother, who cleaned homes for a living while Ocasio Cortez was growing up, can no longer afford to live in the Bronx after living there for several decades. To Vogue, Ocasio Cortez said, "My family is 3 generations deep in the Bronx, and my own mother can't afford to live in the same city, in the same state as me anymore, because it's gotten too expensive." Ocasio Cortez was quick to note that her parents' ability to raise her in the city is a perfect example of how much has changed since then. "I was born to a dad who was born in the South Bronx, while the Bronx was burning, while landlords were committing arson to their own buildings," she said. "He grew up as a kid with 5 people in a 1-bedroom apartment, and my mom was born in poverty in Puerto Rico. But they met out there, they got married, came back, and had me, and as 20-somethings they were able to take out a small loan and get an apartment in the Bronx and have me." And the idea of that, for 2 working-class 20-somethings, it's almost unimaginable in New York City anymore.